Ooh, this is gonna be a rant. This, yeah, yeah. It's going to start with Kraven the Hunter from Marvel Spider-Man. It's going to lead into, it's going to segue into the Kraven the Hunter movie that we're about to get, and then it's going to end up right around me losing my shit over how Sony handles Spider-Man villains. So, right off the bat, Insomniac understands the characters. They understand their villains, and I would say that they really, 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 really understand their fucking heroes as well. But Kraven the Hunter was a standout in Spider-Man 2 because it perfectly adapts, in my opinion, one of the darker stories, which is Kraven's Last Hunt. Perfectly adapts it for the universe that it occurs in. It is a it captures perfectly, especially if you do all of the side missions where you take down the blinds and the strongholds and you get those extra messages and dialogues between Craven and his family, and then you take time during certain missions to look around and really get to learn about Craven's character. It's a man who, his family, it's all about the thrill of the hunt. It's kill or be killed. And he's not dying to some powerful predator. He's dying to essentially cancer. And there's nothing that can save him. He's going to get weaker and slower, and then he's going to die in a bed. And for a man who has always just gone around the world testing himself, proving himself in multiple different ways against multiple different hunters, both animals and other humans, it is a disgrace to his character that he sees it, that he's essentially going to die in this bed, emaciated. Perfect. That is a great understanding of the character. It pushes the character's motivations as to why he essentially just goes all in on his assault on New York, fighting different fucking villains, hunting down Spider-Man, being just mesmerized and captivated by Venom and wanting to unleash the beast inside the symbiote, and finally getting his wish where Venom takes a big old chomp out of his motherfucking head and he dies like a hunter should. He dies to a superior hunter in the form of the symbiote. Great. Fucking love it. Now, moving on, we are about to get, in my opinion, another bad adaptation of a Spider Man villain in the form of the Kraven the Hunter movie that we are about to get. I really feel as though it is a horrible decision, once again, just like Morbius. And I'm going to get to Morbius once we delve into the major overall fucking issue that Sony has in regards to Spider Man villains in general. But it is a horrible idea to try and make him a sympathetic anti-hero, where it's like, oh, I'm not the villain because I'm the bad guy. I'm the villain because of my situations. No, Craven is a villain. He's an absolute fucking villain. We are talking about a guy who killed his fellow siblings. We are talking about a dude who pushes his children to fight and dominate and subjugate others, but then also eliminate each other and kill each other until only one of them remains to be his successor. You're talking about a guy who goes around the world hunting dangerous game, but then also hunting people as well. You're talking about an absolute fucking maniac and sociopath who, he does not care if you're an innocent. If you get in the middle of his hunt, he is going to kill you, and then he is going to continue upon his hunt, attempting to turn him into this sympathetic anti-hero, which is like, I have to live up to the legacy of this person over here and prove that I'm the ultimate hunter. Okay, sure, that's tied into his family. That's in the fucking comics. But then when you start introducing other characters like a love interest and friends and other just fluff that no one gives a shit about, you lose yourself in the sauce. suddenly you're no longer making an adaptation of Kraven the Hunter, you're making something else entirely. You could have just basically went and got my man from Kick-Ass and been like, look, we need you to be this Australian guy in the fucking outback whose girlfriend gets kidnapped, and you discover a magical fucking potion from the indigenous tribes of the continent that gives you powers that connects you to the fucking animals. And it did not have to be called Kraven the Hunter. And I would have sat down, I'd have watched the movie, and I'd have been like, oh, holy shit. You know what? If this was just a little bit darker and he wasn't an anti-hero, or he wasn't a hero in general, I'd feel as though this would have been a pretty good Kraven the Hunter movie. And I would have continued on my fucking day. Now we arrive at the point where everything coalesces. Everything comes together. From Kraven on the PlayStation 2 through Kraven that we're about to get in the movies, all the way into fucking Sony. Which is that Sony needs to stop this bullshit. We do not need Spider-Man villains to be anti-heroes. Circling back to Morbius. We're going back to Morbius. He did not need to be an anti-hero. He doesn't even end up being a fucking tortured soul until maybe like the last 40% of his run. For the beginning of his run, he is a villain. Becomes a living fucking vampire, kills his fucking friend, goes off on just blood drunk across the planet until he runs into fucking Spider-Man, runs into Blade. Blade beats his ass. He ends up being hunted by vampires who actually have the curse and aren't living vampires. Those are two completely separate things. Living vampires are vampires like Morbius who are vampires through biology. Regular vampires, as we know it, are vampires that are vampires through a curse, which is why Morbius at times can be out there in the sun, whereas cursed vampires can't step onto the sun because the sun is lethal to them and there's also a weakness. Moving back to what we're fucking talking about here. But he doesn't end up being a tortured soul until almost damn near the end of his run, where he's like, damn, all the people that I've killed, all the friends who I've maimed and fucking butchered, he's like, you know, maybe I should, I should get a handle on this and work to better myself. Morbius would have worked way better as a darker film, as a far darker film, where it's him giving into the bloodlust and then the human side of him coming out and like just being absolutely fucking distraught, but him not being able to control it and just watching this guy who is trying to do his best to heal the world spiral and become a fucking villain, and then somebody else shows up and beats his ass and locks him the fuck away. Same thing with Kraven the fucking Hunter. It's the exact same thing. It's the same thing with all the villains that for whatever reason, Venom included, you decided to go, you know what? We should make them all anti-heroes. We should make them all anti-heroes who can stand on their own without Spider-Man. No! For most of these fucking characters, Spider-Man is principal. Kraven's Last Hunt, Spider-Man required. Venom, Spider-Man majorly fucking required. I have no idea how we got 2 Venom movies and we have not received a Spider-Man movie. Well, not a Spider-Man cameo. We're supposed to be getting one in Venom 3, but in my opinion, it's far too late. We should have at least had a spider person, a spider something in the first Venom movie to basically set up Venom being the way in which he is. Venom and Spider-Man are peanut butter and jelly. They go to fuck together. When you separate them, Spider-Man can go off and do shit on his own. That's fine. Venom, on the other hand, relies on Spider-Man in order to be able to do things on his own. You can go off and you can do an Agent Venom. You can go off and you could do other interesting things with the character. I forgot who the third person is to rock the Venom suit. I know it's Eddie Brock, then it's Flash Thompson, who's Agent Venom. Flash dies, and then Venom ends up on this third guy, whose name I do not remember. But I remember that relationship was an interesting one, because you have this dude who's using Venom to basically get revenge on these gangs that have hurt him and hurt his family in the past. And then Venom is the one, because of his experiences with both losing Eddie, and then his experiences with Flash Thompson and losing Flash, who's like, nah, like, I understand. Venom was basically the therapist. He was like, look, I understand, like, it's easy to give in anger, and with the power that you're getting from the symbiote that you're getting from me, it's easy to want revenge. But you have to understand that, revenge is a circle. Like, you get revenge on them, then they turn around and they attempt to get revenge on you. And he's trying to impart all of this knowledge, and then Venom finally lets him in, where Venom is basically cuts loose. Like, he lets him see the monster, and it scares the shit out of him. Yes, because of Venom's experiences. His experiences with being a hero with Spider-Man, being a villain with Eddie, being a soldier with Flash Thompson, and then now being on like this gangster dude. He's imparting his knowledge from all of his previous hosts onto this guy, to try and turn this guy around. But guess what? It all begins with Spider-Man. All begins with Spider-Man. You can't introduce Vulture without Spider-Man. You can't introduce Shocker without Spider-Man. You can't introduce Doc Ock without Spider-Man. You can't introduce Scorpion without Spider-Man. But we've got it into our heads that Sony's gotten into their heads that they're like, oh no. We're gonna do a Sinister Six movie without Spider-Man. I thank Odin, Zeus, or whoever the ancient elder god was that struck down that idea. Thank you. You struck that idea down with a thunderbolt from the heavens. And I honestly appreciate you, because I have no idea what direction a Sinister Six movie without Spider-Man would have went in. Is it a heist movie? Is it a buddy cop film? What's going on here? How do we pull all of these Spider-Man villains together without the web head? Stop. It's goofy. We don't need to do that anymore. If you're going to introduce Kraven the way in which Marvel's Spider-Man 2 just did, which is he's heard of the feats of Spider-Man. He wants to challenge someone on Spider-Man's power because he's intrigued. He shows up, starts tearing Peter's life apart. They come to blows, and then Peter kills him. Or he thinks he kills Peter and he ends the hunt by killing himself, only for Spider-Man to crawl out of his grave and he's fucking alive. Please. I beg of you, whoever is in creative control of just Sony and your decision to create these fucking villains and make them into anti-heroes, fire that person. Get rid of them. They are not serving you in any way, shape, or form. If anything, they are diluting and fucking up the product. Because when you put out shit, when you finally get gold and you put it out there, everyone's going to assume it's also shit. And they're not going to feed into it. It's one of the reasons why if Sony was to decide to go and make their own Spider-Man content again without Marvel, no one would go and watch it. Because we remember the debacle that was The Amazing Spider-Man, The Amazing Spider-Man 2. No fault to Andrew Garfield, but due to the bullshit and the meddling from Sony in general, it soured the audience. It required us to have Spider-Man introduced in a non-Spider-Man movie before he got his own movies to test the waters to see whether or not he could be redeemed. He was. He absolutely was. Thank God Tom Holland was chosen as Spider-Man, and he made a full run through Endgame, even though you tried to scare tactic us for about a year. That's okay. We made it. But please, stop with this shit. Because if I see another fucking Kraven the Hunter trailer, and it feels as though like it's this, I gotta get my girl back. I have to use the skills that my father left me so that I can save the woman that I love and the people that I love and protect the things that I love. I'm going to lose my fucking mind.